Welcome back to another episode of the BioHub. Today, I'm joined by Judy Chou, CEO of Altru Bio, one of the most exciting biotech companies out there, especially after closing the largest Series B in biotech over the last 4 years. Judy has an incredible background, having led global biotech at Bayer, held leadership roles at Pfizer, and served as research faculty at Harvard. Now, as the CEO of Altru Bio, she's driving the company's mission to develop first-in-class immune modulators for autoimmune and inflammatory diseases. In this episode, we'll dive into her career, how Altru Bio is thriving in a tough market, and what's ahead in the company for 2024. Pleasure to have you, Judy.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's good, really good. So let's dive into it. I just mentioned your background a little bit there. Just give us a snapshot of your journey and what has led you to become CEO of Altru Bio.
Thank you for the question. I think my journey is a little bit, I would say, slightly unusual compared to most of the CEO background. Before, as you mentioned, before entering the industry, I was faculty and doing the research, biological research. And since I entered the industry, my career actually has been built on the technical development and technical operations side, and leading many manufacturing organizations, and then to the degree and further expand that into both the research side as well as the development side and manufacturing side, and ultimately the whole unit of business. So currently, I'm the CEO of a totally novel therapeutic development company. But at the same time, I did build quite a bit of network in the biomanufacturing. And maybe just quickly gone through about after Harvard, I start my career at Abbott. Luckily for me, my first project is today's Humira. And that actually probably echo what I'm doing now today. So basically, I'm trying to be myself, and that will be better than other people that did me. Because for such a great product as your first product, you want to have some highlight of your career, really bring something, truly make a difference for patients. In between, frankly speaking, most of my time are on biologics in oncology. So I was at Wyeth and Genentech, and then start my entrepreneurship journey at a Tenvex Biopharma, drove for the IPO, and then at Medivation, drove for the deal with Pfizer, and then become Pfizer's executive, and then into Bayer, running a 1,000 people organization. That's right before become the CEO and president of Altru Bio.
Yeah, I mean that's amazing. What attracted you to Altru Bio?
Yeah, I would say two things. When I was at Bayer, I really have to say it was a great opportunity, and I really appreciate the whole Bayer leadership's trusting me to grow my career and running bigger and bigger organization. It triggered me looking inward a little bit about what I really want to do for kind of like the rest of my life. Not like I max at the peak. I don't want to over exaggerate to the degree, but I feel like if I committed to take my career, keeping growing that organization, I will be in a big pharma, making impact in that way. But truthfully, for myself, I really like to be much more closer to the science and make a difference in that way. And that's when I got introduced about the science and technology we have today at Altru Bio. This was presented to me. That's the second factor about by my former Genentech executive members. They also being presented on this opportunity. In a sense, we all left Genentech for about 10 years. And but really having great fun back then when we were at Genentech and make a difference about novel target and change the textbook in a sense. And so that experience become less and less as we all grow into more executive role and dealing with the business process. So then basically this executive team, many members of them signed on to this journey to form a company. So both from that exciting science and the chance to have fun working with a bunch of leaders used to grow the business with. And I feel that's an opportunity to jump into, even though it seems a very abrupt move, walking away from close to like 3,000 people organization and get out to the tiny little Altru Bio. But I'm very motivated by be able to get closer to science and make innovation and truly drive for the result for the patients. That's the key thing why made
Yeah.
me start this journey now.
Yeah, I think it's super exciting. And obviously, a lot of people agree. You obviously made headlines with the largest biotech Series B in 4 years. I think what's interesting about that is that the market has been showing opposite signs of that. How did you guys pull off such a major raise? And then also, what does it mean for the company's future?
First of all, I have to kind of like answer a question by looking at the overall view. Honestly, last year in May, when we closed the Series B and knowing the market is keeping going down, right? And we thought we'd just catch the beginning of the rising market. And now looking back close to a year, it's still keeping crashing. I feel like, whoa, we're so lucky. And I do want to use that word and don't want to over brag about, yeah, we know our case is so straight. So it has been a tough journey. And exactly to your question, if I look back about what led to our success, I would say probably two key things. One, we set the business strategy right. So the moment when we got this term sheet to be able to form a great syndicate and enough funding for us to reach multiple milestones is because years back we made this decision about focus on UC, IBD, and I wish I told you that's a no-brainer and everybody would say that's a good strategy, but actually it's not. In the past 3 years before we closed the Series B, the many people challenging that strategy about, as you know, today we are competing with big pharmas. More or less the small biotech in this space all got acquired or somehow not be able to stand alone to fight for this, to try to make some milestone. And we want to stand alone about having our way to get this innovation moving forward. So that's tough. But the factor enable us to make decision really is patient driven. So we think for the innovative science, it really should be focused on drive for the biggest result. So those business decision made and stick to it, and that's probably the first factor. Two, I would give my team further credit, not just the business decision. We execute. We told people about in 3 years we're going to generate this molecule from the dream to be having a molecule and go through the pre-IND, phase 1 and phase 2. It was almost the day we dosed our first patient in phase 2A, we got a term sheet. Because the investor will say, wow, that's pretty impressive about you didn't just say it. And we were fundraising all along the way. It's not like that's easy, but we delivered. So I feel this two factor, probably I'm now looking back, what really hit the heart of or the investor, or probably also they really do care about to advance that, but want to have that funding putting on a team who can really deliver. So I will highlight these 2 points. The second part of your question about moving forward and the tough market, definitely we're still, first of all, or being a little bit self-centered to say on my role as a CEO, and I think this is probably, I'm not going to be the first one saying this. And every single CEO, when you finish one race, you should be ready for the next one. So a little bit depressing to say that. Maybe it's time to celebrate and relax. That's what everybody told me. But I can tell you the day we close, it will be, okay, what's next? And to prepare for that. So we're very mindful about not sitting on the funding, consider it's all set. So we are setting the strategy to move forward with that. And happy to say, because we be able to generate data out of phase 2A, preparing for this placebo control phase 2B, that will pave the foundation for many things we can grow further. And not to mention the novel mechanism we are working on in the immunology and inflammatory disease space has a huge potential in many other indications. So I would say focus on deliver UC as well as thinking about the broad expansion in other immunological space is probably our focus. And yeah, if we have more time, I can dive a little bit deeper, more like an immunological specific topic we are thinking hard about too.
Yeah, I mean, the next question for me was what really sets you apart on the science side, which you were kind of going into there. And then you even talked about the patient side of things and why it's so important to make a real difference on that front.
Sure. If I can kind of bring it back, almost like what I answered your first question about what attract me to take on this and found this company. The unique part science of us is then our science is focused on this novel target, and so far, good or bad, we are the only one on this PSGO1 as a new target. How it was discovered is our in-house research team. They were bunch of very, very knowledgeable T-cell biologists. And they asked just one question about what will be the important protein playing a role to downregulate this activated or overactivated T cells. As we all know, overactivated T cell is really the most problem, the fundamental issue of the immunological disease. So it's kind of keep going and then drive the whole immune system, keep turning on and nonstop. But basically, immunological disease is about this balance, right? You do want to have this activated to fight for infectious agents, but at the same time, it's supposed to go down. It doesn't go down. That's the autoimmune and all those issues starting to come up. So if we can target this specific protein to help T cell downregulate, that'll make a huge difference. That's really removing the source of the issue. And that's how PSGO1 got discovered. So to your question about what's the main difference compared to so many other approach, and I will not be shy to say I'm so proud about being one of the key author of the BLA to launch Humira. It's a great drug. It's targeting the anti-TNF, which is a very problematic cytokine when it's go on and on. But cytokine suppression is almost like when there's a fire burning and you put the water on the fire, just want to make the water go away. But fundamentally, it still need to remove that source of the fire. Otherwise, the problem will come back. Unfortunately, that's today's autoimmune or those in I&I space, that immunology and inflammatory space, it still have. So even though, first of all, it's a lack of a tool. So it's all those tools are only putting out the fire. And it's just so much. And some work for certain patients, some don't. Taking UC, for example, the best drug, if you minus the placebo effect, we're talking about 20% clinical remission. That's very sad. It's not like a patient feel 20% better. It's 100 patients get on to try a drug or use a drug, and you only have 20% chance this works for you. Imagine that to ourselves, to our loved one. That's very hard to take. About Dr. Basic can just tell you, just try to see if it works for you. That's already very bad. Not to mention, if you're this lucky 20%, the drug work for you, and there's a higher than 50%, this won't work for you after a certain period of time. And fair to say, in the most advanced biological drugs, after 3 years, only 5% of patients can still remain on the same drug and still helping them. Imagine that. So basically, the problem is if we take those drugs, only put up the fires, some new fire will come, and after a while, this just doesn't work. So our approach is to remove the source of those problematic T cells. This is almost the holy grail all the immunologists want to achieve. And luckily for us, it's not just this concept. Right? This concept, everybody will say, yeah, that makes sense. But we went down to all the fundamentals to identify such a novel target. And through all those years of work, realized about that value. And not to mention, I think we have this luxury of our first generation molecule already have the clinical validation. we have more than 200 patient data in 4 different indications and to demonstrate it's really one effective, two safe. So that gives us a confidence now as we are developing our second generation LTB26A, and that will be able to directly drive for the result. And in this difference about our second generation is it's a subcutaneous dosage form. So when we made that decision, it's then the first generation weekly IV makes sense to show that proof of concept. And now we have to factor the patient convenience and everything in, still put patient ahead of us, thinking about that is the right thing to do. So UltraBio took a substantial step back in 2021. We decided to develop such a second gen. So the exciting part is not just this novel science, this will be much more patient friendly. Ultimately, will be much more competitive as well.
That's unbelievable. I mean, you give it a little bit of snapshot into the story as well. Looking ahead now, what are the key milestones or plans for UltraBio that you've got coming up?
Yeah, like I mentioned about second generation, currently is doing the phase 2A study. We'll learn a lot about now, even beyond the mechanism, if a dosage form in a subcutaneous, to dose subcutaneously, is that feasible or not? I don't want to kind of brag about everything, should just go as we plan. And then through that knowledge, a couple of things. First, then we can plan our phase 2B better, knowing the dosing and what will be helpful for patient. And second thing also, we can start realize this so-called biomarker research. So we call our phase 2A basically exploratory biomarker research because we collect a lot of sample. Bottom up, given we have this novel mechanism, we need to understand more about how this mechanism works and fundamentally understand how to use this mechanism to help patients. So we're doing all the levels, tissue, cellular, RNA, DNA, and doing bottom up, but also apply quite a bit of AI technology to do that. That's the second thing. The third thing I would say, as I kind of briefly mentioned, we already have the proof of concept from our first generation outside of UC, outside of IBD. So for us, we're very actively thinking about out of the phase 2A data, if it's any other indication, either it's additional or actually better than UC to be used this mechanism, we'll like to be able to start another quick and sweet study showing the whole potential. So ultimately, this is the pipeline in a product case, and we should fully embrace that. So last piece, allow me to introduce this concept, because as I just mentioned about this putting out the fire, remove the source of the fire thing, I think most of the people would agree with me. But it's hard to have one size fits all. I don't think it's responsible. I say, oh, just remove the source of fire. That's better than putting out the fire, let the fire burn a little bit or something. I couldn't bear thinking about we do that for the patient like that. So in a sense, to be able to combine multiple mechanisms to truly make a difference is where our hearts are. So if we would do, let's just make an assumption about 268, let's just say even 50% clinical remission rate, combined with the other drug, if we can drive for 70, 80, why not? So a little bit kind of creative thinking we have, which is not terribly creative for the people thinking hard on the I&I space, is this combo approach. And we have no excuse not to think about it because our mechanism is unique. So currently we don't have, so any other cytokine target will want to find a partner to do something. UltraBio is a great one because our mechanism is different. In a sense, I'm saying is you don't want to have just two ways to put out the fire only, right? You want to have the putting out the fire and remove the source of fire together. So we are the great combination. A second thing, and when you do this, most of the people feel that's very scary about you suppressing immune system to the degree. That's very dangerous. You don't want to, at the end, if something big coming and the patient dying, like due to the infection. And our drug is so safe. So then having a safe drug, unique mechanism. So I'll say there's 4 things, right? Progress further on UC, looking at biomarker research to do the precision medicine down the line, identify the patient population, and 3 other I&I indication, and 4th, the combo. The many exciting possibility is ahead of us.
I think that's unbelievable. I mean, yeah. I mean, you say you're not giving yourself enough credit for like the creative thinking and all of that. I think it's unbelievable. It leads on nicely from my next question, which is as a CEO, how do you approach tough decisions in high stakes environments, especially in a volatile environment like biotech?
Yeah, first of all, I will set the bar a little bit lower, right? Because I think this sounds kind of scary about how do you make the right decision. That's tough. You're thinking about, like you described the question very well. And I, I, I think I would say to myself and to my peer CEO about, let's make the right decision after you thought through that, using all the available information at the present time. It's always something you look back, you'll feel like, oh, you should have done this and that. And that's just hard. If you got yourself stuck on that, will be very difficult to make decision. But for me, particularly, if you ask me this question, I have this 2 mechanisms I always use. One is this process of collecting the thoughts, and I call that as like when we do the brainstorming, it got to be as democratic as possible. And I have to admit, I'm notorious on that, meaning I will exhaust my team. Like everybody have to say their idea, or not have to. I want to hear from all different voices, and for that reason, I think I say a lot of occasion. I personally feel innovations, the source of innovation is this diversity, inclusion, and I take it very seriously. And I want to hear all different people's thoughts, and I want my team going through this brainstorming. I say notorious is because I think a lot of people, I end up, particularly running big organization, I have my leadership team like, can you just tell us what to do? Like, do we really have kind of get this brainstorming? You can tell I have really very nice people. Otherwise, they would they wouldn't do this, giving that luxury. And but I don't do that. I really want to have this democratic process for getting the voice out and make sure we thought through all different perspectives. But I always have that second part about the decision need to made autocratically. Um, in most of the cases, the CEO need to take it on. And I don't think I have any excuse to say, let's just, I don't operate based on consensus, let me put it this way. Because I think that would be a mistake to, for any leader to take that as an excuse. Like, well, I was thinking it because you guys want to do this and that, and I don't give myself that excuse. I think you need to make based on, I could have sometimes hear 90% people say A, and I really think the B is the right choice. And when I thought through that, I feel B is the right choice. I just have to take that decision and take a full accountability. So that piece, I always also, when I make that decision, I want my team understand I may not be right all the time, and give me the space, have a team committed course correction. So that enable me to do this autocratic decision and moving forward. So I feel that's at least probably across my career. That's how I have been done, like really having the team engagement, then make a decision moving forward. We stick to this decision until it's wrong, then we make the course correction to enable the best outcome for the business.
I love the aspect of getting members of the team involved. I often think like to have one person making every single decision, it's almost naive to do that because there's different skill sets and strengths across the business that can be used for each decision. Like we do a similar thing where, if it's something creative and then it goes to those kind of creative people. And if it's something, more meticulous and detail oriented, then it goes to those kind of people. Like I think there's different profiles for different kind of decisions. 100%.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've had an incredible career. across some major companies. What actually keeps you motivated, and how do you maintain the mindset needed for success?
I'll answer your question by going back to where I begin with, if I may. So before I entered this industry, and originally, I mean, maybe when I was young, and when I decided to study science, it was really I really like the science innovation piece. And so, frank speaking, I think in the very beginning, I've been always in the school, in the track about being a physicist or engineer. And so that's how I begin with. But something during my young age, I actually also realized the third element to me really mattered. I really liked to be able to help people in need. It sounds like a little bit catching about, yeah. But for me, if I would do science and innovation and I don't feel that kind of like a human touch, I feel I'm missing something. So if I would describe my passion, I make decision based on those three things all together. So along the way, as we kind of talking about a couple of minutes ago, about my career and passing through all different big company, small company, big role, or maybe leading a small organization. To me, the three things got to be there to be able to do the science and to be able to innovate, to be able to really having that helping. Now it's easy for me to say just helping the patients, right? Because no doubt the patients are in need. And when I put the three things together, that's how then I make a decision what organization I feel I can have the biggest impact and with these three elements.
Yeah, nice. I mean, what about like on a mindset front? I think that there must be this element of having to keep going. There's been challenges, you get through these ups and downs, and I think you said something on our last call about what set the Ultra Bio teams apart from maybe other teams in the industry. This mindset that you truly wanted to make an impact. I think you worded it differently to that, but
yeah. For me also, yeah, thank you for that reminder about this mindset part. It's for me, it's very important. Any organization I lead or any organization I am in, like I always describe about, we are not fighting a battle not to lose. We're fighting a battle to win. So got to be something really make a difference. And so this has a profound impact about making tough decision also, as you touched earlier. So let me describe a little bit more. Many times through the up and down the journey, and easily people will pick some a little bit easy paths to go, and I usually don't. Not like because I'm particularly risk taking or something like that. I wouldn't describe myself that way. I really think for us particularly in biotech industry, to make this transformational change is very important. Taking a little bit incremental change is killing this industry, because we are in an industry, everything we decide to do will cost more and cost longer period of time. So having the mindset about, hey, you have to overcome all those obstacles to make sure that truly make a difference, truly to win that battle, rather than just maintain not to lose. So for sure, I think most of the mindset about to keep things going in the difficult time, I'm so sure that's the right thing to do, and stick to the right thing to do. I think that's one of the very key element about for myself as well as for the organization I'm leading.
yeah, and I think it's interesting as well because there's one thing saying that, and then one thing really carrying out those behaviors across the company. Do you have to keep reminding people that this is who we are all the time, almost like too repetitively?
No, it's a fair question. As I kind of, if we dial back, we're talking about Series B, as I kind of already shared, right? During that time, when we're still in this dark, long tunnel, and people criticize about, well, we shouldn't do UC, we shouldn't pick easy indication. We should have just go back, do the weekly IV. And now you ask me this question, you put everything back about what I say. I take it seriously because I don't think that's the right thing to do. And I wouldn't call Series B is our success. I feel the investor listened to that, and then like you just say, right? So they took it seriously, and this is the right thing to do. You wouldn't be wishy-washy just trying to get a little bit incremental value for them. It's truly the whole transformational. And I don't want to make it sound like it's to serve the investor, because I do believe majority of the biotech investor having a good heart to make a difference in the pharmaceutical industry. So that's where I think people subscribe to it. And yeah, you just point out the journey. And I was also say, I mean, leading the team itself, having people going on to this kind of tough journey, it like you say, you have to keeping remind people this is what we are all about, right? So I don't want to make it like then once Judy say that, everybody say, yeah, that's right. So I think it will take some like, well, this is probably right approach. That's what we are here for. But I hope I did convey to you throughout my whole journey of my career, as well as so far for the past close to 5 years of journey of UltraBio. Let's take it seriously. And I deeply believe this is not just doing the right thing. And I feel like my so far my career have been showing pretty high probability of success is due to that. So it's not just doing something nice, but really will make a success business.
Yeah, I love that mentality. It's like every day matters, high motivation, we're going to battle. Yeah, I love it all. Yeah. And look, we're going to finish on the last question, which is a question I ask every guest that comes on the podcast. If you could have dinner with any scientist or innovator, past or present, who would it be and why?
I like that question. So for me, maybe a little bit being picky or whatever that you would define. For me, having dinner, particularly, I take it literally. I would definitely feel like whoever that is, and luckily in my business world, that's always applicable too. One, I like to having dinner with somebody I admire, and two, I can learn from this person. Three, I get to have fun. Dinner is about digestion, so you don't want to have the tough conversation. So for me, putting the three together, I would say I would like to have dinner with Albert Einstein, because I feel like he has something I truly admire about this brilliant mind and the way he saw a question and how he tackled this question, and so many things are brilliant. And it may be a little bit no surprise as I now share in this podcast about I start my journey like to be a physicist and engineer. So I spend substantial time of my life try to understand his brilliant mind. So it would be nice to have dinner with him. And the second thing also, I trust I have so much to learn from him, the way he look at things, a different perspective. And third, also, he's a fun person. I think he's full with wits. And one more thing, I think I share the same passion with Albert Einstein is I like music and he likes music. So we have a lot to talk about. I read his story about whenever he needs to think through a tough problem and he just pick up his violin to play. I don't play violin. I do play piano and I sing. And that's the way I kind of do that. My close friend, people not knowing me will feel like I'm relaxing. People know me will ask me about what's wrong. So in a sense, like that's a way I feel like there's a tough problem and I need to solve. And I coincidentally read like, oh, Albert Einstein does that too. So I think it'll be fun with that about the music.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I think there's so many different layers to a guy like Albert Einstein. You talked about his way of thinking, his general intelligence. He's a fun guy, but also like the different circumstances he had to go through just from the time and where he lived. I think that's genuinely fascinating. I think that's a great answer. Amazing. Look, thanks so much for coming on, Judy. It was an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, please, everyone, like and subscribe to the BioHub, and thank you so much again.
Thank you.